Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Franklin County.
Good to have you in this morning. Appreciate you being here.
We had some rain, thank goodness. That was a blessing, but
Still
we
burn
also
ban.
got notified of a prison being moved into our community. That's unfortunate.
We will come to that in just a minute. Next thing we'll move into is the jail. Obviously, or prison. That's obviously a hot topic of discussion. So I know you were able to be in on what's going on. You heard the governor's announcement. You heard what's going on there. Your thoughts?
Well, I just go back to when I took office a little bit after that, somebody from this county came up to me and asked me what I thought about a prison in Franklin County, what the benefits was and what my thoughts were. And my answer was no. And I didn't say it quite that way. I said it pretty hatefully. No, this is bad for Franklin County. I love Franklin County the way it is. It's a beautiful place for people to come to retire and hang out. This is my home, and I'll fight for it till I'm in the ground. And that's all I heard of it. It was brought up. I told them I didn't think it was a good idea. If that person wants to tell you who they are, they can tell you. But never heard another word for over a year until Ricky Bowman called me a couple days ago. Once he called me, I called Little Rock. Some buddies I got up there, they confirmed it. Didn't take long to figure out. You get online and start looking up, doing some research on open sources. You found out. Online, I found 500 plus jobs, 3,000 bed capacity, and pretty quickly we were able to figure out where it was at. So it's not a lot of 800-acre farms that you can find in one spot. So
you didn't know anything about it till Tuesday?
Didn't know anything about it till Ricky Bowman called me, and then started researching. But there's a lot of, after that, the governor's office called me the next day, and it was a young man.
After you found out Tuesday?
After I found out. So when he called me, it wasn't a very good conversation for him, I would say, because I wasn't very friendly. And I apologize. I should probably be a little more friendly, but he kept asking me what my sources are and where I'm getting information, because I questioned him. 500 bed facility, 3,000 bed facility, 500 plus jobs, out by the breeding farm, old farm, and he was shocked at what information he had to pull up. Well, you plan this for a couple of years, it's not hard to figure out, and information gets out. A lot of different people. He acted pretty like he's upset that I knew enough that I knew, and that was it. We didn't have a very good ending of the conversation. He was mad. He sounded like he's mad at me. I really didn't care. You're going to put a prison in my community, and I don't want it, so I'm not going to be that friendly to you. Well, then later that evening, the governor, Sanders, called me, and she's the governor. I'm going to be really nice to her. She's friendly. I support the governor. I'm a pretty hardline conservative. I understand parts of what she's doing because you got to pick a place, but this is my home in my backyard. I don't want it here. Pick somewhere else. And I told her, I said, I support you, Governor, but I will not support this. She understood. She was nice. It was a rough conversation talking to her. And then from there, her lawyer called me before she came on KD1 the night before and asked me if I would make a statement with her, and I told her, no, I'm not going to. I'll make my statement this morning. So
let's question this, answer this in. So we go from that to, as sheriff, your concerns with having a prison of that size in the county. What are concerns you have as a sheriff or in a department?
And so I talked about the governor. So the concerns I have is it outpays my deputies. And for a prison guard will make more money than my deputies. How am I going to keep a jailer? How am I going to keep a deputy? And what that basically the second and third hand effects are, you're adding basically a small city the size of Ozark within Franklin County. It's going to be that big on 850 acres. So now you're looking at Charleston. Those police officers in Charleston, I believe they go home about 7 p.m. They don't have police officers out at night. Well, Charleston, you're going to have people out at night now. There's not going to be any way around it. They're going to have to pay more. We're going to have to pay more. Ozark's going to have to pay more. All the surrounding counties are going to up their pay because 800-man workforce over at the prison is going to start trying to steal everybody they can steal. And what I don't really like about it is this community is so great, and everybody knows everybody, and everybody's friendly, and I love this place. And my fear is it's going to start stealing your small business workers to go to the prison. I can't blame you. You're going to get a state retirement. You're going to make more money, state benefits. But all these small businesses aren't going to have a labor force anymore. And we don't have a labor force now for the jobs we currently have. And now it's even going to be harder to compete. Butterball's always hiring. Every small business you talk to, they can't find people to work. They're all struggling. And now you're going to add 800 more jobs here that – you can't fill that outpay everybody else. So that's really going to hurt us unless you're working, the gas company or REA or somewhere like that. That might outpay them a little bit, but man, it's going to make it tough for the entire community initially. I think eventually it'll probably settle out, and we'll see what happens after that. But that's my fear, is it takes away the county. I don't know if it has enough money to up enough salaries, because it's not just the sheriff department. You got to look at the highway department and everybody else, because they're looking for guards. They're looking for bodies to set and guard people and set. And you understand a prison of that capacity is not what you think it is. The chance of escape is slim to none. This is a world-class $400 million project that basically you're watching computer screens and somebody's checking the systems and making sure everything's up and running right, and they're pushing button to open doors. There's second and third fail safes to make sure nobody's getting out. But you're competing, and it's going to be very hard. And I feel for the people of Charleston. Cody Sosby over there that joins it, and all the families that join it. I can't imagine what you're going through. In my heart, I pray for you and hope it works out, that it goes away. But I just don't know if it's going to go away.
So let's talk about a crime aspect of that. So we've talked about how you look at it from a sheriff's point, from operation of your department and your jail.
Yes, sir.
Is it? I know you've had time to research this some.
Yep.
Is there a crime issue concern with you? I mean, obviously they're in jail. The criminals are. They're not the ones you're worried about.
Yeah, not worried about anybody in jail. I'm not worried about anybody escaping. If somebody does ever escape, they're putting distance. They don't want to be around where they just escaped from, so you're looking for them. But the crime aspect is, for me, is you got possibly 800 plus jobs, say 300 families moving here. That's a pretty large influx of people that come in this community.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to do a little bit. Hopefully it don't bring crime. But the biggest aspect to me is, if you have long-term inmates for say it's a maximum secure prison, long-term inmates, families tend to move closer to the family members that's in prison so they can visit more. So they tend to rent places around. I'm not saying they're bad, not saying anything like that. I'm just saying they're in prison for a reason, and usually it's not just them, it's other people involved. And it could be a problem, but when people get out of prison, they have to have a plan when they get out. They have to go parole somewhere. They have to notify their parole officer where they're at, and most of the time somebody picks them up and takes them away from that place. They're not going to hang out. They're going back to where they're from.
So it's not like the movies. It's not like Blues Brothers where the doors open up.
You don't open the doors and they walk
and
away.
the guy
Somebody has
walks
to pick
out
them
down
up.
the dusty
No.
road.
No, like,
Okay.
We've had people from here that went to prison and they're from Ozark. They go to prison somewhere else. When they get out, they had to go to a halfway house in Little Rock first,
Yep.
like a men's halfway house, and stay there for a certain period of time, make sure they're going to get a job and work before they're even allowed to come back here. So, and that's not where the prison was. They were in another prison somewhere else. They made them go to that
Right.
halfway house before they were allowed to come back here. So
There's a lot of infrastructure in place as far
there's
as
so many steps in place.
Yeah.
It's a good, and there's a lot of programs in the prison to help people. And you got, the governor ran, and most of us in this county are conservatives, and we're Republican stronghold here.
I mean, the bottom line is this: the real problem is we need beds.
We need
prison
beds.
beds.
We got to
Right.
have beds.
And no one wants prison in
No
their
one wants
town.
a prison in their community. And, I do not want a prison in my community, 100%. I'm 100% against it. But I do understand you got to eventually pick a place. What I don't understand is, you look at the other prisons in this state. I think one's 16,000 acres and one's like 12,000 acres, and there's a lot smaller prisons. So you look at that massive acreage, that much acreage, and you got a smaller prison, and now we're looking at 850 acres to place Ozark in that 850 acres. So I don't understand that aspect of it.
Well, man, I think unless you've got something else, I mean, I'm sure we could talk about it for a while, but that I think at least we've got your standpoint, we got where you're at with it. And
I think it's
your
going to be a
thoughts,
big impact.
Yeah.
We're a Class 2 county. Once it's up and running, we immediately become a Class 3 county. Hopefully that brings a little more tax dollars. It's going to have to bring in some tax funds to help Charleston out, to fund their police department 24/7, to fund Ozark's police department more, to fund the sheriff department more. If we go to Class 3 county with that many more people, we're going to have more deputies to patrol the county, to make sure everybody is safe, and we're going to pay them more, and we're going to pay our jailers more. So I think I pay about $17.51 an hour for a starting jailer right now.
So if they're talking an average annual salary, their average 47 range, what's your average?
So we looked up what
yearly?
we're probably 38, somewhere around there. But
So you're around 10 under their average.
jailers make about 36,
Yep.
and they were like 20, they were 28 when I started, and to me that's ridiculous. And 36 is still pretty low for the cost of living nowadays. But we got it up to 36. My deputies make just shy of 40, and that's a dangerous job. And being a jailer in a jail is probably more risky than being in a prison. There's more
Personal
fail
contact.
safes in a prison than in a county jail. In a county jail, it's smaller. You just arrest the guy. It hasn't been adjudicated yet, so you really don't know. That jailer really doesn't. They know, but they really don't know what could happen. I got my nose broken inside the jail trying to move a guy out that was acting up. Dealt with the guy every day. Never thought he would throw a punch, and when he hit me, I'm like, oh my God, he's throwing a punch. Took care of business, put him in isolation. Didn't hurt the guy, but he broke my nose. But every now and then there might be a fight in the jail. But most of the time, the inmates, and I'll tell you this, our hard inmates that's signed to state prison, they're super friendly in the jail. I sit there and talk to them all the time. I believe if somebody jumped one of my jailers, those men would step in quickly. They know we have a job to do. And just like when we arrest them, the big time criminals are like, you got me. You do your job, and I'm trying to do my thing. So it is what it is. And they never really give us a problem.
Yeah.
I just, if you live in the Vesta area or Charleston, anywhere near that, and I live off 96 and Highway 23 over there, I'm not as close as you, but, I feel for you. I'm praying for you, and I hope something works out because this is just a bad deal. It's forced on you. You didn't have a say. You didn't have a choice. This is America, and I still feel like you should have a choice. So, there's nothing I can say to make it better and make you feel better. I'm just praying for you, man. I hope it works out.
Well, man, thanks for being here. I'm going to work, and you are too.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have to take care.
Yep, you got a busy day.
Well, we're here to talk prison. Obviously, this is a major topic of discussion. So you and I had visited before I got on the air with the governor yesterday, and obviously you are involved with some aspects of prisons in Arkansas, so that makes an interesting aspect of it. So we're going to talk about that. Let's start with this, Gary. I just want to get your take, your response on the announcement yesterday of the land being purchased at Vesta for a prison. Gary Stubblefield, here's your mic. Give me your thoughts.
All right. Let me give you just a little background, first of all.
Okay.
I've served 14 years in the state legislature, 12 of that as a state senator. I've chaired the committee over the prison system for 12 years. And I was notified about this 3,000-bed facility being built on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, even before the judge and the sheriff, and because I called both of them, or even our other Representative Eubanks, Representative Lee Johnson of Greenwood didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it, the location of it. And I think probably, Mark, one of the most troubling aspects of this is the fact that, it was James Madison that said the legislative branch of government, there's 3 branches, but we are the most important because we're the closest to the people. We represent the people. We bring the government to the people and let them share their views, voice their opinion. And in this case, they didn't get to do that because we were kept in the dark right up till the last minute. Nobody knew this thing was going to be built in Franklin County. I understand they had 3 different sites. Why the other 2 weren't chosen, I have my guesses, and I'm thinking they probably pulled out. They were in Northwest Arkansas, and the one in Charleston was chosen. So it was, the whole thing was just not done right as far as allowing the representatives of the people who we work for. I work for you. I work for these citizens, and that's what I've said since I got elected. I don't work for the governor. I work for the people that elected me. And I was kept in the dark about this whole thing for, I don't know, since we passed the bill in 23 session. And if they had went about this right and let us know this a month, 2 months ago, we could have had town hall meetings and allowed the citizens to come in and view their opinion, tell us what they think about it, whether they're for it or against it, and at least give them a voice in what's going to happen in their community, which is a huge, huge deal. This is not like building a Casey's. This is a big deal, and they were deprived of that right, and I don't blame them for being upset. I really don't, because my farm's 3.5 miles from this thing, and my dad was born on the Mill Creek Mountain, close to where this thing's going to be put. So I have a vested interest in this too.
So the committee you're on, what was that again? The prison committee?
Yes, we oversee that. We oversee all the penal institutions in the state, and I've been on that for a long time. And anything that goes on with the prisons, I'm usually notified, but I was not notified on this.
So the committee was not involved with the
No,
decision.
nobody knew anything about this until Tuesday.
So, and you understand, Gary. I mean, you are the senator, but also you've been around the area for a while. You can see why. I mean, a lot of people are like, somebody had to know. I mean, that you've heard that.
Somebody had to know, and let me tell you, as we sit here and speak this morning, I just got off the phone with my staff in Little Rock, and they are sending out 2 FOIs. One will go to the Department of Corrections. The other will go to the board of the Department of Corrections, who Benny Magnus is head of, who will be here Thursday night in Charleston to answer questions. Those FOIs will be sent out this morning electronically, and then there will be a hard copy sent to each of those on Monday morning, asking for information, any information or any communication between the prisons and the governor. So I want to know why we were kept in the dark.
So that
I want to know exactly all that pertains to this whole situation.
And that's why you're asking for that, because you're obviously assuming there had to be some correspondence going on somewhere.
There had to be. You don't build something that is going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars and involves 3,000 prisoners. That is by far. I've been to Tucker, Cummins, Grady. I've been to Malvern. I've been to all these prisons. I've walked down death row. I've been in the building where they put them to sleep. I know all this because I've served as chairman of this committee, and you don't keep something like this secret. So somebody had to know something.
So the way this had worked is that we knew going into it, the state legislation, everybody knew we want to build a prison. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody was on board with that.
We have to do it. We have to do it.
But the secrecy part came as where it was going to be, and evidently the board, there was nobody involved with that. Is what you're telling me. It sounds like.
Well, I'm just telling you that the people
here weren't.
Where they were going to potentially put it, didn't have a voice, didn't get their chance to voice their opinion, and that's not what our government was built on.
So what's the process now? Obviously, evidently, as far as we've heard from the governor, the land's been purchased. What's the next step? I mean, obviously, you and I mentioned.
Well, the thing can't be built until the Board of Corrections approves it.
Okay.
They have to approve it. And like I say, Benny Magnus, who lives in Mountain Home, he's going to drive down. I spoke to him yesterday. He will be there Thursday night at the Charleston Middle School at 6 o'clock. And he will explain that process about how that all works. Okay. Because they have to approve it before it can be built.
Did he know anything about the location or what was going on before this?
That will all be brought out Thursday night.
Okay.
And he will be glad to take questions.
Okay. I'm sure there'll be some.
I've known him a long time. He's very honest. He doesn't believe in. So, other than that,
what's the role of that
board? Up to
board?
Wednesday, I didn't know any more than any citizen in Franklin County.
So so that board that has to prove it. When they're approving something, how are they going to? What are their, I guess, criteria for approving something like that? Because obviously most places evidently don't want it. So what do they look at criteria to prove that? Do you know?
Well, yeah, they look at everything. They look at mainly the workforce population around there, where they can draw from that, because this thing is going to take a lot of people away from. You're going to have a lot of counties that will lose their deputies.
That's what Sheriff Crocker talked about.
I mean, it won't just but it'll reach out a long ways. I'm talking about Yale County, Johnson County. They're not going to stay there and work for $36,000 when they can make $50,000 here with a good insurance plan. And you know what? I can't blame them.
That's what he said.
They're going to take care of their families. I understand that, but
so workforce
it
is
will
one
also
of the criteria.
draw from Rockline. Rockline Industries in Boonville is the biggest employer in Boonville. And they're already short of employees. They don't have enough employees. So this will more than likely take employees away from Rockline. And what's that going to do to Boonville? So the ramifications of this are huge, and the board, part of their job is to study that, and that all goes into the plan of where they're going to put the prison. So, I'll have some questions to ask Benny myself on Thursday night.
When do they vote? Do you know?
They'll vote pretty soon.
So they haven't got a meeting set yet to vote that we know of.
No. I asked him last night, and he said they haven't voted yet, but it'll be pretty soon.
Well, obviously you'll be notified because you'll want to be there.
I will guarantee you I'll be notified.
Well, so criteria. One of the criteria is employees, workforce. Do you know any of the other criteria they look at?
Well, they look at the infrastructure because this thing's going to use a huge amount of water, electricity.
Right.
They'll have to build a waste treatment plant.
Right.
And all that'll have to meet the specs of the federal government because on these wastewater plants, the EPA gets involved, the Department of Environmental Quality gets involved. There's just a lot of regulations that go with that, and they have to consider all that and their proximity to. But I think the main criteria is the proximity to workers, because we are facing such a shortage of workers in this country. You just can't get anybody to work, and I find that hard to
bring in
we
5
grew up
$800 jobs.
working, and I don't know how people are surviving with the inflation we're all experiencing, with everything costing as much as it is. I mean, I work and I still have
I'm with
sticker
you.
shock when I go in a grocery store, and how these people are surviving without working. It's just, it's hard to imagine that the government is handing out that many checks because, I mean, we owe $35 trillion in this country. And just our interest alone is more than our military budget. So this is not sustainable.
So let's go back to the infrastructure. Okay, so the state has purchased the land. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So a question that has arisen, and the question I've got too is, we've purchased around $3 million is the room I'm hearing for the land we've purchased. But I know that there's not been any discussion with River South, who is responsible for that area's water. So how do you go into purchase and rent land and not even know if you've got? They claim they did it because of the utilities, but they've never contacted us to ask if they can get water from it. So does that make sense?
No,
and there's
it
studies
does
you got
not
to
make
do on the
sense,
land.
but
You can't just throw one up.
They had to have contacted some of these utilities.
They did not.
And that's
what
blows my mind. I don't know how.
Because you invested $3 million, and like you said, Mill Creek's not just great land to be building on. So that was just, I was confused when it'd be like purchasing to build a 16-house turkey operation without ever checking into water or land or anything else.
If you built a turkey operation or a chicken operation, you would have to go around and get your neighbors to sign agreement.
Oh, and you'd make sure you had water source.
Absolutely.
You make sure you had land to build it
You're
on.
not gonna.
So did the state actually buy $3 million worth of property and not check into any of this?
I think that transaction was completed yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday
with a man
morning.
in Alaska now. I think they live in Alaska, who purchased the land from Toby.
I mean, have you heard anything on that? Like those questions, I'm sure you've asked them. Has anybody answered that?
All I know is it was purchased by a couple who moved to Alaska.
Right.
So,
I mean, the utility issues. It seems like the
I
due
haven't gotten
diligence
any of
has
those
not been
I
done.
haven't gotten any of those details other than the fact that they may have to run some water lines, but you would think they would have contacted
The water supply.
REA, the electric companies, all the utility companies.
Well, 3,000. That's a city
That's
that
bigger
you got to
than
bring.
Charleston.
You got to bring electricity to that. So I guess that was a question I had just in general. How did we jump into this? And it seems like that didn't happen unless there's something else we all don't know about. You know what I'm saying?
But Mark, that's what I'm telling you. That's why we are elected, and that's why we're down there, so we can, know these things and at least tell our constituents about them ahead of time, so they can voice their opinions, whether pro or con.
So what's the response?
And we were denied that.
So when you bring that up, because obviously you made your opinion known to them, how come I didn't know about this? What's their response to you when you say, how come I know nothing about this?
I've got a hole put on the prison budget right now. They can't. I put it on yesterday. I put a hole on their budget yesterday before I left the Capitol. So it's drawing some attention now, I can assure you.
Oh, I bet. You start grabbing purse strings, it gets real interesting.
Yeah, it does when you can't pay your employees.
But they haven't given you a response on how come you didn't know.
No, I'm probably sure I'll get one after this radio station.
You will. We'll have to part two. When you get your answers, give us part two, because obviously I know you're frustrated, and
Yeah, I am.
and it is. You can see though where it is hard for people that to think, how did no one local know about it? I mean, that it seems unreal that no one local could know about it. But you're obviously telling us I knew nothing until Tuesday.
No.
How'd you find out Tuesday?
Tuesday at 1 o'clock, one of the governor's staff called me and said, we've finalized the location. And I said, where's it going to be? And they said, north of Charleston. And it took me kind of a second or two to
I bet it did.
try to comprehend that. And you mean, I started to say, you mean South Carolina? And no, it's Charleston, Arkansas.
So the question that a lot of people have next is there anything that can be done? I mean, if the land's purchased, obviously that's done. But as far as stopping, or I guess that's the main thing, is there people want to know, is there a way to stop this, or is it done? We're out of.
I don't know. I'm gonna visit with Congressman Westerman about this,
Okay.
because there's a lot of that land up there that's been designated as a natural preserve, and I think there's some Indians tribes, the Cherokees and the Choctaws, who I think there's some burial grounds out in that area. So that would definitely put a halt to it if that was to come about as being real. So I don't know. We're still looking for ways to, because if the people don't want this, then they're the ones that we represent. I'm going to go along with them.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I work for them.
It's kind of disheartening.
You have no idea.
I get it. I do. That's what I've got for you, Gary. I just wanted the opportunity for you and I to discuss it. I knew your stance, I knew where you were, but I wanted people to hear from you what you knew.
Yeah.
Here's one more question. So the prison board, when they meet, if they approve it, then it's done. Then we're building. Is that the or are there other steps after that?
That's the way the process works. Once
Okay.
they approve it,
It's
then
done.
How long it will be before construction actually starts, I haven't a clue. I'm sure Benny Magnus will be able to answer that. And I want to say this: when we meet next Thursday night at the middle school,
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask the people. I know this is a very emotional subject,
Right.
but we've got to keep it civil. We really have to keep this civil, because
agree.
we don't want to, have a shouting match because that's not going to solve anything.
No, and I can tell you this: Sheriff Crocker and I discussed that this morning, and he on his own brought that up, and he said it won't be.
Yeah.
It will be civil. It will not be a problem, because his full intention, if anybody wants to become a problem, he's got space for them. And
Yeah.
he just flat out
Well-
told me that. He said, we'll start loading folks up. And he said it won't take long. Well, because he wants the same thing. It needs to be civil. He needs to
Right.
get answers. People are mad, but you've got to discuss it.
But
get
you've
some
got
answers.
one of the things that really troubles me is the fact that this is going to draw so many people out of other businesses.
Yeah.
Even in Charleston
I
and like
understand.
Rockline, but especially the county deputies. We may not have any county deputies.
Oh, he's concerned.
And,
But like you said, it's not just
not
Franklin
just
County.
Franklin.
No.
But Logan, Scott, Sebastian, all of these counties.
City police. It's all of them.
Yes. So these prisoners are going to be locked up in a state-of-the-art facility.
Right.
They're not getting out.
They're not.
No, I've went through this with other prisons. They're not getting out. But there's a lot of them walking the streets. Sarah was right. The governor was right. We have got a lot of people who are walking the streets that should be locked up, but we have no room in our jails. Our jails are overflowing all over the state. We send prisoners to Louisiana. We pay Louisiana to keep part of our prisoners. And there had to be something done, especially with the law passed requiring these inmates to serve out their full term.
What
And
about
not being
Chaffee?
able-
What about Chaffee? I've had several people say, well, why don't they put this on Chaffee?
Well, Chaffee's a federal lands. That is federal land, and they, the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers, and there's a lot of aircraft that fly out there. So it might not be the safest place to put a prison, but that's federal land.
So then you got to
76,000 acres out there. So, But there's still a lot of. I was talking to one of the legislators in the House, and he said we would have loved to have this in Lonoke County. The people in Lonoke County would have loved to have had it. So I think there's other options. I just hope they give us a chance to, to voice our opinions.
Gotcha. I just find it disappointing that you being the senator have not been able to get answers from the people that made the purchase. You know what I'm saying? That just that does not seem right. I mean, that's just
It's
not
not
how
right.
that's just
It's
not
not
how
right.
the system was created to be.
I think that line of communication will open up real quickly.
I feel like now that you stop the funding, yeah,
Yeah.
it will. I mean, it obviously. So you have to
Yeah.
keep us updated on that.
I will.
Cody Sosby, anything you want to add, buddy? While you're here, belly on up there to that thing.
I certainly don't want to take away from the senator's time or County Judge Ricky Bowman's, but I do thank the senator for dropping everything he had, coming here to make himself available. The county judge, and we've talked more in the last 24 hours than we've talked in our whole lives. I'm trying to make myself available. We've done, interviews on the courthouse lawn in Charleston. That's all we can do as public servants is to make ourselves available to the public that we represent. And as a JP of this county, that's all I can do. Senator Stubblefield and Representative Eubanks is the people that I go to because that's how it works. And I ask them questions, and ultimately when I contacted them, they were giving you the same answers they are today. I was shell shocked. What do you mean? How do you know? How do you not know? And so that's what I have 100% faith that they'll get to the bottom of and find out. So, like I said, I don't want to take this time, but let the people in Franklin County know that we're doing exactly everything we can do. On a side note, my family land borders that.
Yeah.
So I have that interest too. And nobody wants that. And when things unfold going forward with other land that was available, things are coming out. I had 1,100 friend requests on Facebook. My Facebook's about to get shut down. Been on a call with people from North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, realtors, family had bought land there, and I'm a rodeo clown, so I get to say I'm a JP and a rodeo clown. I'm handling this the best I can, and I would push it forward to. I've tried to push it all on Ricky Bowman, and but anyway, I want people to know they're here and they're in the county. Yeah, but we're open to listen, and this is where you voice your concerns and how we get things done.
Gotcha. Hey, I do have another question for you. Has Don let you back to the dinner table? No.
I sat. My dad, 82 years old, saddled his horse yesterday evening, and we rode out to the fence line.
Yeah.
To that fence line. I'm sorry.
No, hey man, it's understandable.
And,
This is home.
His great grandkids are fishing,
Yeah.
and he said, "Enjoy it,
Oh yeah.
because it's not going to be here."
That's tough.
And he's worked and scratched. People know my family, know my dad,
You know?
and that's just them. There's several people around.
But that's that area.
It's that area. Several people are the same that are to the north
Yes.
and to the west and to the east. So that's my invested personal interest.
Well, you
Outside of
bet.
that, I got to be a professional and represent the taxpayers and stuff like that. But so I'm glad you asked that, because people that has given everything to live there because they want that solitude and safety,
Mhm.
it's being taken away
That's tough.
without a voice.
Yeah.
So
All right. Thank you. Judge, anything you want to add to that?
Mark, I'd like to say Cody made a good point. If the state had spent 5 minutes in Vesta, they would have found out how tight that community is in the Charleston area. I'm very disappointed that we didn't know.
Right.
The senator, no one knew about this. I got the call at about 3:00 Tuesday afternoon. I was floored, and I said, "Man," I asked them where, and they told me. And I said, "Well, that's off the beaten path." I said, "I don't see that community being able to support the workforce and the infrastructure for a facility of this size." And so I'm very disappointed with that. Senator, I appreciate you and everything that you're doing. I appreciate you inviting Mr. Magnus to the town hall that I facilitated yesterday. Joe Porfiry will be there as well. He is the governor's senior advisor, and so hopefully we can get some answers to some of these questions. I just want to tell you, Senator, you're in Little Rock. You didn't know anything. I got a call yesterday morning from the director of our the Association of Arkansas Counties, Chris Valines. He said, Judge, he said, I just heard that Franklin County is going to be the location for the new prison. He said, I just want you to know that me and my staff did not know anything. We had not been told anything. We did not have a clue where this location was going to be. So it was kept very low key, very tight. And that's concerning. That's concerning about our state government and the people that we represent. People, Judge, you had to know. Well, you would think the judge would know. You would think the state senator would know. You would think our representative. No, we did not know. And so moving forward, I hope we get some answers Thursday night. And as a landowner, I can't imagine someone showing up at my door and saying, hey, guess what? You're getting a prison next door.
Mm-hmm.
And not know anything. But like I said, if they'd spent 5 minutes in the Vesta area or any community in Franklin County, they would see who we are. Just see who we are. And we should have been brought into the conversation, Senator. We really should have. And I appreciate you. Yeah.
There you go. Gary, anything else?
No, I'm like these guys, and there's a lot of talk about all the economic growth it's going to have, and I understand that small communities, some of them are dying on the vine, and unless they evolve, they're not, with something like this, they will die. But these people are not worried about the money. They just want to live their life in a quiet, peaceful, because those are disappearing all over the country, and it's just the way this was handled that really is troubling.
So
and not allowing the way our government was set up to work. That's what bothers me, because I'm a strict constitutionalist. I've read it many times, and I've ran some bills pertaining to that. And the legislative branch of government, like I said before, James Madison, that's the most important part, because it is the closest to the people. You tell us, and then we go and tell the executive branch what to do, and that did not happen.
So I guess once the money's allocated, because there's another question that has come up is how can the state spend $3 million on a property without being approved or without public hearings of some kind? I guess once that money is allocated, the governor's office can do what they want to do with that money. Is that how that works to an extent?
I'm not.
You're wondering the same.
I'm wondering the same if they can do
Okay.
that. I think they can.
Because once it's allocated,
I think they want. Yeah, want it to.
It's budgeted.
That's right.
Hey, and then we'll know more, as you said, but I just got a note here from a good friend of all of ours that says that it was in the Democrat Gazette that the prison board is scheduled to meet Monday night at 10:30.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to vote Monday night.
We didn't think they'd do this either.
Well, that's true.
Just a heads up. There's a meeting. Evidently, that's odd, but there's a 10:30 p.m. meeting. It says that both Tucker and Maximum Security. So something you might check into, because that's.
I can call Benny Magnus right now if you'd like.
we can put on this phone over here and have a full deal going on. But just I mean, because it is concerning. I mean, you wouldn't think they would, but also you wouldn't think, how in the world are we?
I don't think they'll vote on this project.
Hopefully not.
Monday night, no.
So we shall see. Front page of the paper today, it said.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't
Here we
imagine
go.
that.
Here we go, Gary. Round 2. Buckle in. It's a mess, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for standing up, for being here, and for doing what you can. Keep me updated, and as we learn more, we'll pass it along to the people. But appreciate you being here. Thank you. Gary Stubblefield, Senator Gary Stubblefield here, Franklin County Judge Ricky Bowen. Appreciate him. And Cody Soseby, the Franklin County Quorum Court, being here with us this morning.